Okay. Hi, everybody. So my name is, as it says, James Levy, and I'm SVP of Global Customer Success here at XR. And today, as Lizzie mentioned, thanks for the intro, we're going to be focusing in on the creative and speaking about creative intelligence. Hopefully it's exciting. If not, I'm told that on track 2, you've got some funky house and garage if you want to sort of chill out for a little bit. So, if we're clicking on. It's our belief at XR that building intelligence and understanding around the creative asset is what can give true insights, particularly when combined with media activity and performance. So we're going to be delving into that today. But first, for those that don't know much about XR yet, XR is a global technology platform that powers the creative economy. We've been going for a couple of decades or so. There's about 1,200 of us globally. We are headquartered in New York and international HQ in London. Got lots of colleagues here with us here today. So we power the creative economy by enabling productions, managing, storing, and uniquely delivering advertising and creative content to any screen, anywhere, globally. And as a byproduct of these processes, we collect and connect billions of data points along that creative life cycle. And this ultimately helps our clients make smarter business decisions day in, day out. But it's those billions of data points that I mentioned, which is why I'm here today. And we're actually going to explore them using the world of astronomy. So there's been lots of interesting topics at MadFest today, I'm sure everybody's seen. So far, I haven't yet seen astronomy, so it's maybe a MadFest first, we shall see. And unless we have any astronomers in the audience, it's likely that many people may not have heard of Hubble's law. So as well as learning a little bit about XR, we're also going to learn a little bit of astronomy here today. Okay? So Hubble's law states that galaxies are constantly moving away from each other. And the speed in which they're moving away from each other is proportional to their distance. So effectively, what that means is the universe is expanding continuously. And this may feel a little bit Forrest Gump, but Hubble's law is a bit like a blueberry muffin, which conveniently is also my breakfast pastry of choice, in case you're interested. So in the pre-baking stage, the blueberries, or galaxies, are sitting there in the batter, or universe, all pretty close together. But as time passes, and more specifically 15 minutes at 180 degrees, all of a sudden those blueberries start to drift further and further away from each other. And Hubble's law can really be applied to the challenges that modern-day marketers face today in 2024 and beyond. And as indicated in these blueberry muffins, which you made earlier, what you can start to see here is that the advertising ecosystem is also expanding, and with it, so is the complexity to gain control. In recent times, we've seen an explosion of new media platforms, new technologies where an advertiser's audience resides. These new platforms and technologies have birthed the emergence of new specialist agencies which help the advertisers reach their desired audience, all obviously alongside the traditional creative and media agencies that we know and love. And these audiences, as we know, are consuming content on a growing set of new devices, from VR headsets to folding phones now, and I'm sure there'll be more innovation in the years to come. And these platforms and devices that content's consumed on all require different assets, different specifications, different sizes, a real mix. And in order to achieve a positive end-user experience, the quality of those assets is imperative that it's in high quality. But also, if you think about that complexity and the data that's connected to all of those assets and all those different variants, control over that data continues to drift further and further away, a bit like those blueberries. So it's not just a lot of blueberries that you've really got to get under control, but in fact, you're really talking about a lot of blueberry muffins that you need to get a grip on. And that is a bit of a challenge, as can be seen there by lots of blueberry muffins. So as a technology partner to global and local advertisers, this is a conundrum that XR are set up to solve for, and we're going to speak a little bit about today. So at XR, we are unique in that we don't create content, we don't buy or plan the media. Our technology is there really to streamline and to provide consultative support to advertisers and their agency partners to reduce that complexity, increase that visibility and control so that they can ultimately make smart, timely business decisions. So now that we set the stage a little bit and highlight an issue that I'm sure many of you in the audience are familiar with and probably encounter, I can see a lot of you nodding along, we want to share some specific ways in which we've been supporting our customers with a view that you can take that back into your businesses and hopefully can support you in your day-to-day. So XR deliver, publish, serve content to any screen globally, as you can see by the formats listed there. And what our job is to ensure that content arrives at the right time, complying to the specifications that all of those different media types insist upon. And this focus on quality saw us deliver 82% of Superpower ads across linear TV and CTV last year. And it also sees us deliver every TV ad in over 100 markets with Procter & Gamble and many other global advertisers. We also underpin the Disney creative supply chain and are supporting the new ad formats for Netflix, Apple TV, Prime Video, and soon to be Tubi. I saw a bit of an announcement yesterday. So in fact, when we look at the numbers, there's 600 million unique assets that we're delivering to 50,000 endpoints across 130 countries. A lot of blueberries, a lot of blueberry muffins to gain control over. Just to switch gear a little bit, another thing about the XR business, we're also market leader in paying the talent that feature within the advertising content. So whether you're Taylor Swift, Ryan Reynolds, Brad Pitt, Jennifer Aniston, John Legend, XR are playing a role in ensuring that when these talents feature within an advertiser's creative, that they are getting paid at the appropriate time, on time, every time. So all of this payment information rolls up to us actually having managed $1.5 billion of talent payment last year alone. And all of that information is captured within the XR platform as contract rights. So when that talent is paid, all of that information sits within a contract. That contract information sits within the XR platform. But not just limited to the talent rights, but also music rights, font licenses, stock footage, anything connected to the use of that asset. So for our customers, we can ensure that their content's only being delivered when the rights are in compliance, but also crucially, when the assets are in compliance to the necessary specifications as well. So as with our spirit animal, or spirit superheroes, given the theme, the Power Rangers, as you can see, I'm sure some people are familiar with them, when the XR services combine, there is a value multiplier for our customers. So as we connect that data at scale across the content and that content delivery, we're able to provide the most comprehensive creative intelligence solution to our customers. But what is creative intelligence? Creative intelligence is understanding all the various components of a creative asset. Where it originated, which talent features in that creative asset, who created that asset, where's it intended to go to, all of the elements within that creative, how much did it cost to produce, who's it intended for, who's consumed it, how did it perform, and many, many more variables. Back to all of those blueberries. And what we're going to focus in on for the remainder of the presentation a little bit further is 3 of the core services that we're seeing support our customers today in gaining control over that complexity, back to the Hubble's law. So asset utilization. I'm producing assets. Are they being used? Where are they running? Who's running them? Why are they running them? All of that sort of stuff. Talent utilization. I've paid to put Taylor Swift in my creative campaign. Are all of my markets using that very expensive Taylor creative? Or are they doing something else locally? And creative assessment. And we're going to look at that through a lens of, is my creative being constructed in a manner that represents the audience that I'm trying to reach and engage with? So XR have been managing production and adaptation workflows within our technology for many years. So content gets uploaded, passed into production and localization workflows, take an initial English piece of content, put into Spanish, German, Japanese, etc., and then eventually it's delivered through to the final desired endpoint. We're capturing data all the way through that process. And interestingly, as that content goes through the technology, what we're doing via AI and machine learning is interrogating that creative, interrogating every frame of each bit of creative within the system, all with a view of establishing relationships between these assets to get a deeper understanding of which assets are being used, which assets are not being used, why are assets being used, and so forth. And what we've seen through that is that, on average, half of creative assets are wasted, which it's still a mind-blowing stat, back to that meme earlier. And of course, it's a chronic waste of time for the people that are involved in producing those assets, but also a chronic waste of funds as well that are going into producing that content. The additional element, which is starting to do a lot of work around, is the carbon impacts. You're producing all of these assets and possibly flying around the world to get those assets produced. You're storing assets in technologies like XR and understanding, okay, well, how can we actually identify which assets aren't being used so we can make those improvements in future productions? So we've been working with companies like AdNet Zero and Scope 3, for those that are familiar with some of those companies, to help identify how we can highlight this issue and crucially make a positive change. And that all comes together in dashboards like these, where we're helping our customers understand the specifics around which assets are being used and why are those assets being used, why they're not being used, who's adopting them, and so on and so forth. So we focus on the asset for the past couple of minutes. We're now going to focus on the actual talent, back to those celebrities we talked about earlier. And as we showed earlier, and as will be known to the audience, many advertisers rely on celebrity talent to communicate their ideas and represent their brand. These celebrities are the extreme example of the investments that go into using talent within creative content. But regardless of whether you're using a Joe Bloggs or a Jude Bellingham, a brand is still paying to use you in their creative for a certain period of time, in a certain geography across a certain set of media. And dependent on the brand, and of course the talent, think about some of those people we put up there before, this can be a considerable percentage of that overall production spend. So using dashboards like these, we help our customers understand, are they getting their best bang for buck? They may be using a particular celebrity. They want to get an understanding of, well, is there still opportunity to use that content that the celebrity features within, or even non-celebrity? It's a little bit pixelated, this psychedelic chart, but what you can hopefully see just about in the pink bar there, what that's demonstrating is that there is still opportunity available for the talent and the creative to be used within broadcast and TV across Australia, Europe, and UK there at the bottom. And that sends a signal back into the advertisers and their partners that there's still an opportunity to use this asset, sweat this asset, and ultimately get ROI from a significant spend around obviously using that talent. The eagle eyes amongst you probably noticed that red bar as well. Red is usually not a great thing when you're looking at a chart or a dashboard like this, and it isn't in this case either. What this is displaying is that across digital, the talent rights have actually expired, but you've still got creative live in market outside of usage. That isn't a good thing. That can lead to significant fines to the advertiser. So the other side of this creative intelligence view is the understanding when and where an asset is deployed and when the rights are due to expire. If you start to get understanding around that data, you can ensure that those violations never happen. Your teams are connected, you're notified, and of course you're preventing it and removing any risk of brand reputation getting impacted. But of course, if the asset's performing well and achieving the campaign objectives, it may be sensible to extend the rights that are due to expire. But when you're dealing with disparate data sets and all those blueberries sort of flying around your ecosystem, it's very difficult to get an understanding of, well, is that campaign performing? Is it performing well in a particular market, in a particular media, and so forth? So what we endeavor to do at XR is to bring all of that insight together so that our customers can make those smart, timely business decisions and make those decisions around whether they are going to be extending the usage or not. So we've talked about the creative assets and the talent. Another area that we talked a little bit about earlier where we support our customers is understanding the variety of elements that make up that piece of creative. So as with the example earlier, we use AI to interrogate the content going through the XR technology. And we use that to understand that content at scale and determine the elements that make up that creative, whether that's age, gender, body type, skin tone, body stereotypes, gender stereotypes, understanding all those variables and package up in a way so that our customers can get a deeper understanding. Creative assets are ultimately built to communicate with an advertiser's target audience, And if that consumer doesn't feel represented by the contents being served through to them, then of course the engagement is going to be reduced. So we help our customers understand these variables so the communications can be optimized whilst the campaign's in flight and optimized accordingly. But what about if your consumers can't even consume the advertising that's intended for them? That means that there's considerable waste across the media and production investment. And sadly, that is the case. 1 in 4 people live with a visual impairment across the world. Therefore, it's imperative that content is being built in a way that is accessible to all. So this can take many forms, for those that don't know. So that can be captions, sort of closed captions, open captions on a piece of content. That can be audio description, as well as, of course, alt text. And as XR manages that content through the creative supply chain, we're able to determine if that content has been built in an accessible manner. And what our data indicates is that sadly only 17% of ads are being built in an accessible way today, which is quite a stark fact. Of course, that's many consumers that could be being communicated with who are sadly unable to access the assets that are being produced. So in a bid to improve upon that percentage, and feel free to get your phones out and give a scan of that QR code, XR have developed an accessibility maturity index for the industry. So this is a global report which highlights the state of the industry today. What media owners, what media types actually can publish and air and show accessible advertising. And sadly, there is a lot of work still to be done. So one of the goals of this index is to highlight that work that still needs to be done and also the steps that need to be made to progress. And we support our customers on that journey as they become more familiar with a view to obviously making their content more accessible. So to wrap up and go back to Hubbell's law from earlier, this level of control is a possibility. All those blueberries, all those blueberry muffins, they don't need to exist in the ether. They can be gathered in. You can regain control over this increasingly complex marketing ecosystem. It can be at your fingertips. So thank you very much for your time. If you'd like to learn a bit more or have any questions, you can find the XR team. They're all sort of dotted about, either at the back after the session or also located at the Uncensored CMO backstage just over there on the left-hand side. Thanks so much for your time.